All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 6:30 on the dot. We're going to go ahead and get started this evening. We have a special guest tonight. Dr. Dave Davis is with us to lead us in our invocation on this special day that we remember the victims of 9/11. So I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Davis. You can stand as you're able.
Well, thank you, Michael, for inviting me. The prayer that I have, I wrote out, and I'm reminded, I was just sitting there reminding of, my daughter Ashley. And Ashley was a little girl. She came to ask me one day when I was writing the sermon and writing the prayer. She goes, "How do you know what to say to God?" And I said, "Well, the Lord just kind of leads me, Ashley, and then I write it down." She said, "Why do you keep crossing things out?" leave it at that. It's been quite a week. Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we give thanks for the opportunity to serve our community. Today we remember the 2,996 lives lost 24 years ago due to the terrorist attack on our country. And we acknowledge, even this week, the ongoing threat to our nation's visions and values. We offer prayers for Erica Kirk, for her children, as they face their future without Charlie. And we affirm once again the values and the freedoms granted to us by you, our Creator, as we ask for strength, wisdom, and clarity as we work toward God's preferred future for our community and nation. Where we have fallen short, God, we pray for grace and ask for strength for renewed commitment. Lord, we know that one day Isaiah prophesies that all the nations of the world would lay down their weapons. They would stream to the mountain of the Lord for healing and truth. We pray that our nation, this nation, would lead that journey, and that you would work in us and among us to make us a people united by faith and hope and love. As we conduct the business of this city, we thank you for all that has been entrusted to us. Give us wisdom to be good stewards over the resources, the hearts, the cultures, the futures that make this city. May we be reminded that every person matters to God, and so they must matter to us. Let us put away the labels that divide us, the prejudices that destroy us, and the selfishness that diminishes us. And let us serve with gladness and love for all the people who call this city their home. We ask this in the matchless name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. You could also join us, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right, I'm going to start like we do every meeting. We're going to start by calling the roll. We're going to do it in the order of the districts. So we're going to start with District 1, Councilman Tim Sullivan, present. District 2, Michael Coker, that is me, I'm here. District 3, Councilman Kyle Shields.
Present.
District 4, our Mayor Pro Tem Michael Rudnick. Here. And then District 5, Councilman Doug Ingram.
Present.
All right, who's taking notes? Mackenzie, thank you. So, Madam Deputy Clerk, if you could note that all 5 council members are here this evening. That's going to bring us to the mayor's opening comments. You might have seen there was a little bit of confusion just there. So, first off, I want to say Chandler Faith, who's normally our clerk, is in training right now. And so I wanted to say something about her and thank her for continuing her education, wanting to be a better clerk, wanting to serve this city better. So we were very lucky to have Mackenzie sitting in for her tonight, and we appreciate you too, Mackenzie. The other thing I want to talk about is one of the things that the Mulberry Charter does is it authorizes the mayor the opportunity to present a budget for the city. And so it also allows the mayor to delegate that responsibility to someone else. And so given that we have a team, a staff of phenomenal city experts in this city, I have delegated that responsibility to present the initial budget for fiscal year 2025-26 to the staff at the city of Mulberry. So at the next couple meetings, you'll probably see we're going to present that. You can ask questions, we can talk about it. But staff will do that presentation. I've delegated that directly to them. So thank you for doing that for us. The last thing I would be remiss, you heard it a little bit in the invocation today to talk about the situation going on in our country right now. And I think we can all agree that, regardless of your political affiliation, we've got to put this violence aside in our country. We've got to come together. We've got to do what we can to make this country a better place. And so as we sit here on 9/11 and we remember, I was telling somebody the other day, I said, do you remember after 9/11? I was old enough to have remembered it, and I was, late in my high school years. And it seemed like everybody was waving American flags. Everybody was so proud to be an American. And I just want us to go back to those days so bad, where people are proud to live here. They're proud of who we are, what we stand for. And so I hope that that's something we can ultimately get to. That'll conclude my opening comments. Is there any other council members that would like to make a statement?
No, I think you did a fine job.
Thank you.
Nothing to add to that.
Okay.
I was standing here saying the pledge on 9/11, and I don't know if that's the first time I've ever done that on 9/11, but, I was, I think, a junior in college when that happened, and, we can't ever forget, what happened, and make sure we stand together as Americans first, and, have each other's backs regardless of, where we come from, what we do, who we are, and, the things that specifically happened yesterday is just an absolute tragedy, and not the way to do things. And I'm proud of our city and the way that we have handled things here with the open dialogue and debate and conversation. Even though we may not all agree on all topics, we're able to get to a resolute end to those situations. So I'm proud of our city. I want to continue to be proud of our city, and I'd like that to move out to the rest of the country. And I like these things to stop as well, and I'll do everything in my power to help that.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other council members like to make a statement?
I'll just say something briefly, Mayor. I agree, you had some great comments and echo all those. The only other thing I would add is I had a conversation with somebody, and they mentioned that Gwinnett County is maybe one of the most diverse counties population-wise in the nation. And I think with 1 million people and the diversity of views, it is so important that we just share those views together and we be respectful to one another. And I think that one of the things that the council's trying to do, and each day we get closer to this, I know with the city manager's help and all the staff's help, is just ensuring that we can have productive relationships with constituents, citizens, and even the county. And so I think that needs to be the order of the day. Respect one another. We may not always agree with the opinion, but we can always respect and love that we're all Americans.
Thank you, Councilman Ingram. Any other council members? All right, hearing none, I will move on to item G on our agenda, the interim city manager's opening comments. Any opening comments from the city manager?
I don't really have any. I want to thank everybody for being out here today. We are getting ready to be in the process of moving, so we're really excited about that. If you've kind of been following, what we've been presenting to mayor and council, we'll be moving across the street and then having a larger space for our chambers area, our courtroom, and then more room for staff. So thankful to staff, thankful to mayor and council for allowing us to move forward with this, and thank you all for participating and being here as part of the cities we started up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely think we're going to miss, it's very cozy and intimate. I know that it's going to be nice to have a little more space. All right, that brings us to item H, which is consideration of tonight's meeting agenda. Is there any items, changes, or additions to tonight's agenda?
Yeah, Mayor, I know it's a long night, looks like, but I wanted to add 2 items for discussion.
Okay.
I'm not sure we cover it well enough in our current ordinances and our current UDO. And that is building locations, how they set relative to the road, and secondarily signage. I don't know that we've got it quite locked down to the extent I would like it. I want to avoid signs that look like we're in Las Vegas or something. But just, I'll be quick and I'll share my feelings on that.
Okay, so we have a motion to add, we'll add under action items Q, part 1, item E, a discussion regarding building placement. Am I quoting you correctly?
Yeah. I said Q.
Q
Part
would be,
one?
yeah, Q, and we'll do add E. So first one will be discussion regarding building placements.
Yeah. Relative to the.
And then the second motion was discussion
Signage requirements.
regarding
Standards. They're,
signage standards. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to add action item E under Q, discussion regarding building placement, and action item F, or QF, a discussion regarding siding standards. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All right, thank you, Councilman Ingram. Any discussion on adding those two items?
No, just figure we'll get to it when we get to it.
Okay, then I will call a vote on those, that amendment by Councilman Sullivan to add action item QE and QF. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 5, that amendment carries. Is there any other amendments to tonight's agenda? Hearing none, I will make a motion to adopt the Mulberry City Council regular meeting agenda for September 11, 2025 as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Sullivan. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 5, the council meeting agenda for September 11, 2025 is hereby adopted as amended. All right, that brings us to action item I, consideration of August 14th, 2025 minutes. Has the council had sufficient time to review the August 14th, 2025 minutes? And are there any amendments to those minutes?
Yeah, just a quick question. What's different from the one we already did?
So this one, there's no changes to the August 14th one. There are changes to the February 20th,
Sorry, Mike.
March 13th, and June 30th, and July 10th, but we can talk about those when we get there.
I'm trying to rush things along, I guess.
Yeah, no problem. Any amendments to the August 14th, 2025 minutes?
No.
Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept the August 14th minutes as presented.
We have a motion from the Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Shields. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 5, the August 14th, 2025 minutes are hereby adopted. All right, that brings us to action item J. I will go ahead and, first off, I'll just explain, these were sent to us by the city clerk. During the amendment, or when we adopted the prior minutes on these, I believe, is that what is correct? That there was, it was not clear who had made the motion and who had made the seconds. And so, again, based, I believe, on her continuing education and learning more how to be a better clerk, she went back and addressed those to make it clarify who had actually made the motions and the seconds for meeting minute adoption.
I reviewed these too. If you go look at them inside your agenda packet, you'll see that most of these amendments just state, Councilmember Shields made a motion to approve the resolution. So a lot of them beforehand, the minutes would just end with make a motion. She added that what you were making the motion for, who made the motion, who seconded it, and we wanted to make sure that that was detailed in the minutes as well.
So let's take these in turn. Let's start with, like I said, J, consideration of February 20th, 2025 meeting minutes amendment. Is there any amendments to the amended minutes? All right, hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt the February 20th, 2025 meeting minutes as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 5, those are adopted. All right, that brings us to action item K, March 13th, which is the same amendments that are included in there. This would be for March 13th, 2025. Any discussion about those minutes? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt the March 13th, 2025 minutes as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Ingram. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 5, the meetings for March 13th, 2025 as amended are hereby adopted. That brings us to action item L, June 30th, 2025. Any discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt the June 30th, 2025 minutes as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Sullivan. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 5, the June 30th, 2025 minutes are, as amended, are hereby adopted. That brings us to action item M, July 10th, 2025 meeting minutes. Any discussion about this amendment? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adopt the July 10th, 2025 meeting minutes as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Shields. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 5, the July 10th, 2025 minutes as amended are presented, or approved, I'm sorry. All right, that brings us to action item N, public comment. So there's gonna be let me explain something, because this is kind of new for maybe some of you. So we have a general public comment section, okay, which is this one, which is limited to 2 minutes. The council is not authorized to respond to just sit and listen. If you want to give up a general public comment, the only request we have is that there's a sheet up there. I believe a pen's up there too. If you just sign your name, so we know who you are. If you could also tell us if you're available, your address for the record, and then where you, which district of Mulberry you live in, if you know. So this will be the general public comment section. We also will have a change in conditions for the zoning. There'll be a public hearing for that. So if you're here to talk about the change in condition, I would encourage you to wait for that public hearing. But this is the general public comment. So at this time, I will open the public comments. Is there anyone here who would like to give a general public comment under item N? All right, hearing none, then I will go ahead and close the public comments for item N. That brings us to the second reads. The first we have ordinance 2025-07148, second reading of an ordinance of the city of Mulberry, Georgia to adopt revisions to short-term rentals. Who's gonna present this?
Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. And she's getting our presentation set up, so we just one moment, I do apologize.
No problem.
All right, so this is the second read for the text amendment for the short-term rentals. It's gonna be ordinance 2025-07148. And this establishes that, all short-term rentals, must comply with these regulations here. It's only one short-term rental per permitted lot. They must comply with all applicable building, fire, and life safety codes. All short-term rentals shall be registered and formally licensed with the city, and the code also explicitly lays out the process for getting that license as well. And all short-term rentals operated by a corporate entity shall be required to obtain and maintain a City of Mulberry business license. And special events such as weddings, parties, corporate events, commercial gatherings, or any other similar activities are expressly prohibited on properties operating as a short-term rental. And they are limited for all districts within the base residential districts, and it's also limited for all districts within the special residential zoning districts. And with that, I will turn it back over to the Mayor and Council for any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Richard?
Yeah, the districts you mentioned, residential, that's basically all of them, right?
Yes, so it would be all of your residential districts within the base residential section and within all the special residential
Those
sections.
large lot, equestrian, all those.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from the council?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Is there, the ability to put in language of, such things as like minimum length of rental, for, short-term rentals?
There is definitely something we can put in there for that. Most cities, the way it is done is 30 days or less is considered short-term, and anything more than 30 days is considered long-term. But we could also spell that out if you would like to do that.
So we could do a minimum length of rental, I mean, 7, 10, 15 days, something like
Yeah,
that.
I've seen codes where they say you can only do a maximum of 14 consecutive days before it's gotta be leased to somebody else.
Well, I'm
You're talking about minimum.
kind of trying to go the other direction.
The other church,
Yeah,
okay,
so saying if you're gonna do a short-term rental, it must be for a minimum of a certain amount of days. 14 days, 10 days, 5 days.
I've never
30
seen that,
days.
but I would think it's not disallowed. I'd obviously want Attorney Bradley to review that just to be sure, but
Yeah, I did a little bit of research. There was a few other cities, Roswell, there's Sandy Springs, Johns Creek, and Milton, they actually have a minimum 31-day rental. So it's a minimum length of rental of 31 days for short-term rentals. So that was just one of my questions, to make sure that, you know, if we were to proceed, something like that is, I guess, legal is the best question there. And then, is there anything that the city could implement that if there is any type of violation that they would lose their ability to rent for a period of time?
Yeah, I think that would fall under the business licensing section and the code compliance section, where if you keep getting repeated violations, you could lose your license for that.
So we have the ability to revoke that license?
Yes, I would think you would have the ability to revoke that license under property maintenance and business licensing.
Gotcha, okay. And then is there, and I don't know if you can do this just for short-term rentals, or I don't think you can do this citywide, but any type of quiet hours? 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., something along those lines?
Yeah, so these would be required to also meet the current noise ordinance that you have in effect,
Okay.
whatever those hours may be. I don't know off the top of my head.
I think we adopted Gwinnett County on that.
We do have a noise ordinance. I will say that, we need to look at the equipment that's necessary for that, because in order to legally have to do, we have to have a decimal reader that can test to see like what may be loud to a neighbor may actually be legal by the ordinance that we adopted. And so staff would need to review that and get the proper equipment.
A certain decibel, a certain amount of distance from the property.
That's correct, right? Like the neighbor may hear it,
Right.
right? But it may be within the allowed decimal readage that's inside the ordinance currently. And so we just need to evaluate how that's done before we add it into an ordinance or change it.
As an addition to that, there are apps for that. I know I went to a special meeting, the event center across from my neighborhood. They had a complaint about noise ordinance, and the gentleman making the complaint used an app on his phone, and Gwinnett County accepted that as valid testing equipment.
I didn't get to introduce him earlier, I forgot that in my comments, but our chief marshal will be heading up our code enforcement and all of that, Chief Jones, he's here and he's had some experience with all that, so we're in good hands with trying to get that in the proper order.
Okay. My last question, could we potentially, if the council were in agreement, do something to restrict the maximum number of days per year? Say for instance, 90 days per year, something along those lines. Just an idea thrown out there to the council as well.
Yeah, I've seen codes where they have allowed that. A lot of the codes I have seen have been 180 days. So right, you can only rent it out about half the year. Any less, I would probably defer to some research with Mr. Riley to make sure it's legal. But I think that's definitely something you could examine to put in this code.
Okay.
Any other questions for Richard on this ordinance?
I have one quick, maybe two quick questions, Richard. I think we're all trying to put our head around how do we kind of balance this in an appropriate way for the city. Having said that, one of the things I see on there is that you have kind of a structure there that, do all short-term rentals have to be maintained by a corporate entity, or can it be a singular independent person?
It can be a singular independent person, and based on the way this code is written, a singular independent person would not necessarily have to get a business license.
Okay.
For tax purposes, a lot of them probably would get a business license, but they wouldn't be required to.
And is that, I think that'd be one of the things we want to take a look at, is can we just compel that if you do, should the council feel it's appropriate, if, that we might have to have every entity just have appropriate protections under some kind of corporate entity or associated insurance, et cetera. The last question is, so we talked about the minimum, is there a contiguous, we talked about the max of 180 days. So would it be correct, like Councilman Roenick mentions the 14 days to 180, is that kind of, right now there is no kind of language in there, right, that provides any kind of parameters around the short term?
Just want to recap, and sorry, Richard, so anything that is 30 days or less is short term.
Got it.
If it's more than that, it's no longer a short term rental.
Okay.
What we were discussing is what constitutes how long someone can rent out their property just to in form of short term.
Got it.
So you could have multiple, and then the code would say 180 days, but like that could be multiple people that are less than 30 days at a time.
Got it.
So I just wanted to clarify
That's
that
helpful.
before.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. Thank you. Yeah, that's all the questions I have. Thanks, that's super helpful.
Any other questions on this ordinance for Richard? All right, ladies and gentlemen, there is a public hearing component on this. So if you are here, how this works is we will allocate 10 minutes per side. So 10 minutes for people that are in favor of the short-term rental ordinance, and then 10 minutes for people who are opposed. Unfortunately, anyone who's here to speak has to split that 10 minutes. So at this time, I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of ordinance 2025-07148?
I actually have a comment too.
If you don't mind, if you could state your name for the record, your address, and you
Miles
have-
Schwartz, I live at 5088 Stephen Ridge Way, Spout Springs. One of the comment that needs to go in here is signage. If you've been down Spout Springs Road, there's about 20 signs that have been out there for 2 years. The permit says they're only allowed to keep it there a year or until filled. So they could have one house that's not full, and those signs could be out there as long as I'm living. I think there ought to be a window there that says after a year or 6 months, rental property, regardless if it's a house, apartment, or whatever, the signs have to come down, particularly the banner signs that are in your face. There's, I think, 6 out there now, and there were 8. I think 2 blew down at the last thing. So I think the ordinance are good, but I think we need to add the signage piece in there to put a handle on that, because, you know, I expect the balloon people and all that to start showing up as they can't rent. Nobody wants to look at that. I mean, realistic. Anyway, that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of ordinance 2025-07148? Hearing none, at this time I will close the public comment for those wanting to speak in favor. Would anyone like to speak in opposition of ordinance 2025-07148? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing in its entirety. At this time, I will entertain a motion from the council on ordinance 2025-07148.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, and Mr. Riley, I don't know what the proper way to do this is, to table this to a future meeting, and have some more research done, and interaction with staff to more fine tune the ordinance as a whole.
All right, hold on one second. The Mayor Pro Tem has made a motion to table ordinance 2025-07148. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Ingram. Okay, so now we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about that?
Just a point of order, I went to councilman class last year, as did you, and we were told that a table meant something was put off indefinitely. It's left in the corner to die. What Councilman Rednick, I believe, wants to do is postpone it to the next meeting, or to a subsequent future meeting. Just, because it's one way or the other, because a table technically, it dies.
So do I have is that a motion to amend his motion to?
Well, I guess to ask council what is truly the proper way, if I understand it
I just
correctly.
make an inquiry to the Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Pro Tem, was your intent to reset this to a date certain?
I do not have a certain date, no. You know, to a future subsequent meeting.
I think we have to at least name one.
We need to have a date. So we
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
In order to table or
Yeah,
postpone.
we can move it to the next meeting. September 29th?
I think we probably should move it to October, because we haven't officially set the September 25th one. It's later in the agenda.
My advice would, just to give staff some adequate time, I would say, let's see if we can't move it to the October 16th meeting. So then that way we can do a little bit of added research and then bring something back to you all then.
Okay.
And then you can either choose to vote then or, postpone again.
Okay, so is that your motion? It looks like the motion from the Mayor Pro Tem is to postpone this ordinance 2025-07148 to the October 16th, 2025 meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Sullivan. Any other discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 5, ordinance 2025-07148 is the discussion and the, is hereby postponed to the October 16th, 2025 meeting. That brings us to second read of ordinance 2025-07149, the second reading of the ordinance of the city of Mulberry, Georgia to adopt a build-to-rent ordinance. Richard, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. So on this one, the text amendment for the build to rent, is ordinance 2025-07149. And the build to rent, the definition for this is gonna be residential development consisting of a single-family detached dwelling or townhouses in which more than 10% of the units are constructed to be leased rather than sold. And there's only 6 zoning districts there that these would be allowed in, and they would be under the limited use. And they must conform to the following requirements. 1, no exterior evidence that dwelling is built to rent. 2, parking shall only be provided on hard surfaces. 3, no parking on streets, in the right-of-way, in yard or neighboring properties. 4, developments more than 15 built-to-rent units shall be required to maintain an on-site property management office. 6, must comply with city's architectural and site design standards as well as all building, fire, and life safety codes. And lastly, all built-to-rent developments shall be registered and formally licensed with the city. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor, for any questions.
Sure. One question I have, Richard, is obviously we heard from Mr. Schwartz earlier. So according to this ordinance, if I'm reading, under build to rent item, it's 210-140-134C, there shall be no exterior evidence that a dwelling is built to rent. That would in essence make any of those signs a violation of this ordinance. Is that correct?
That would be my understanding, any type of advertisement, because single-family homes typically do not advertise that you live there. So I would say that's yes, but
Is that your understanding, city attorney?
Well, I would think you're gonna have to look at some grandfather issues, but I think a future issue would be a different story.
Okay.
And
So,
we'd also probably, what we will be doing, we would do based on the gentleman's comments, we'll go find the history of it, we'll go find what they had built at the point in time that they gathered that. We'll make a determination if they exceeded that by future building, and we'll see if that would terminate their grandfathering and also would terminate their time span. So we would intend to go through all of that.
so I guess the question I would have is, to his point, is obviously there's no exterior evidence, right? You can't have a for rent sign out front of the house, but can you still have these large, 7-8 foot signs that say, rent this neighborhood?
The answer would be, in the future, the answer would be no.
Okay,
But the question is one of grandfather, the people that already have
understood.
have that, and whether they had put themselves in a place that they've lost their grandfather status.
Thank you. Okay.
Just kind of make a point of
Sure.
clarification. We're talking about clarifying the difference between those that are for build to rent versus what you would see as for sale for fee simple subdivision signs. Is
Sure.
that correct?
Understood. Yes, yeah, no, thank you for that clarification. Yes, I'm not referring to if there's a new neighborhood being built, it says like new houses at the 400 level. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you see the, build to rent and then you have a QR code, neighborhood this way, those would be covered under this ordinance, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, any other questions from the council for Richard?
Yeah, I got one. You set the limit at 10%, and it just kind of occurred to me. So, example, I got 100 homes I'm gonna build. I'm gonna rent out 20 of them, and I'm gonna sell 80. I'm a build-to-rent neighborhood?
I would think so. If it's more than 10%, then it would have to come through the process here for y'all's approval.
Okay, because that sounds like a hybrid thing. The few that I'm aware of and I've driven by, it's 100% build-to-rent. Nobody owns anything in there, so I was a little confused why, a builder might have a hybrid to begin with.
The percentage is set because of the fact that we want to encourage home ownership.
Okay.
But we, do not dictate what someone does with their property. But the HOA, if the HOA were to look at in their subdivision and say that, some of these are rentals, there's some language in there that would support an HOA saying there's a cap on the number of people who
Okay,
can
so you're
use
coming
this
around
as
at that
primary
one.
residence.
Just curious.
It would be in our notes. It would be in our notes on their building permit about the mandatory HOA and some of the mandatory things that they would have to have within their HOA.
Any other questions from the council for Richard?
Can we go a different direction and set a maximum rental percentage of 10% per neighborhood?
So there's a couple ways to do this. I think this ordinance would not be the vehicle to do it. But I think more along of a separate policy that would encourage fee simple product. But there's some research that would have to come along with that and some studies to back that up legally. We just couldn't arbitrarily make that number. It needs to be based upon what our current housing stock is and the percentage of it versus what our future projections are and how we balance that out.
So this particular ordinance is specific to someone who's come in and requested zoning on BTR and has to adhere to this, right?
That's correct.
And is this currently in the comp plan? Do we have BTR designated areas?
We do not.
Okay, so it's not in the comp plan, understood.
This is setting it because it's an allowable product that can be built. We don't dictate what
Sure.
people can, do on their property.
Sure.
We just kind of regulate it.
Got
This
it.
is the best way to do it.
Understood, yeah. May I ask a couple questions?
Absolutely.
One question was, it would be on I see there's a licensing component here, I think the city of Mulberry, I saw that somewhere. Maintain a valid city of Mulberry business license. One of the things that I think we know to be true on some of these BTR developments is they get packaged up and sold to larger kind of PE interests that are out of state. Is there any language maybe that you've seen that allow or specify ownership to reside within the state? So for instance, the asset itself is owned by a properly registered Georgia corporation?
I have never seen that, and I'm not sure the legality. I would have to defer to Mr. Riley on
Okay.
that.
The general scheme is that you have to have your registered agent either with, most of the time it's within your county. Sometimes it's within your county or adjacent counties. And for instance, in Dunwoody, because Dunwoody's adjacent to Gwinnett, Fulton, and DeKalb so closely, you end up having owners who live in the other counties, and they don't want to have a separate registered agent. Like, a lot of the owners live like in Duluth.
Sure.
So, Dunwoody you have to have your registered agent within 3 counties and, that are adjacent. Because what you want to do is, what you're talking about is how do you enforce compliance? How do you get service on these people? And so a foreign corporation would still have to have the registered agent within our county or with, if we decided, our county and Barrow and Jackson, perhaps.
Sure.
But that's the scheme for corporations.
Okay. Yeah, one of the, maybe just is is there any type of, to compel these BTR owners, let's say, if, from a landscaping perspective? I think the thing that I hear when I talk with folks about this particular zoning type and some of the product that gets built is because the transactional nature of the product. They build up a lot, it gets sold off in a portfolio to someone that's out of state, and sometimes the standards become lax, right? So the landscaping doesn't look like it was when it was built, and you're left to deal with some of that in code enforcement type issue. So I guess code enforcement would just overlay on top of this, just like it would for any other property, is that right? Or is there? Okay.
And they'll do it both to the rentor and to the owner.
Okay.
Both are jointly responsible for their properties.
Okay.
Any other questions for Richard from the council? All right, ladies and gentlemen, there is a public hearing component of this, so same type thing. We're going to reserve 10 minutes for each side. So at this time, I will open the public comment for those in favor of this ordinance pertaining to build to rent. So would anyone like to speak in favor of ordinance number 2025-07149? Hearing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing for those in favor. Would anyone like to speak in opposition of ordinance 2025-07149? Hearing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing in its entirety. So at this time, I will entertain a motion from the council.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
I would like to make a motion that we postpone voting on ordinance 2025-07149 until the October 16th, 2025 council meeting to allow staff and ourselves to do some additional research.
All right, we have a motion on the table to defer this ordinance until the October 16th, 2025 meeting. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion on the postponement? The only question I have, is in the postponement, is there a specific directive or a specific like item that you want researched on that, just so we know where we're headed?
Yeah, I think the specific, the specific area of inquiry that I have is just, maybe from a staff perspective, understanding the successes and failures of other BTR, product in the Atlanta metropolitan area, and understanding, is there some common thread of successful product that you see out there that we could incorporate? I'm sure, our staff have done a great job of doing that. I just would like to sanity check that further. And I think the main, just to further elaborate, if I may, Mr. Mayor, the main thing, that we see out there in the marketplace, I think, is that this is becoming obviously an increasingly more popular product, just because of, cost of land use and everything else. And there's some unintended consequences, I think, of this particular product, that can kind of, creep into municipalities, and we just want to really do a good job of being very comprehensive about the type of ways to make sure people can enjoy a great product and they can live in a great area, but also it furthers our goals as a municipality.
Okay, any other discussion about the motion? All right, hearing none, I will call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 5, ordinance 2025-07149 is hereby postponed until the October 16th, 2025 meeting. All right, that brings us to item C, ordinance 2025-07150, second reading of ordinance of the city of Mulberry, Georgia to enable a planned development district. First reading of this ordinance was July the 10th, 2025. All right, Richard, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, once again.
You're doing a great job, Kelly.
Okay,
Keep it
this
up.
is
It's all right.
changing. I don't know why.
All right, go ahead.
Right, so this is ordinance 2025-07150. This is for planned unit developments. They must be a minimum of 10 contiguous acres to be able to apply for this type of development. A required phasing plan will be accurately outlined and propose the schedule and timing of all the development that is being proposed. Proposals for PUD shall not utilize substantial portions of already completed developments or portions of developments to satisfy the mixed use. Ooh, that's hard to say out. I used to say mixed use, but it's use mix requirements there. And then PUD shall provide a mix of individual uses from a minimum of 2 different major use categories, as you can see all those major categories there. Right, and they also must conform to a minimum of 1 characteristic found in section 215-10.4. And so they must have a new or unique concept of land use, preservation principles, a target employment industry, usable public green space, tree preservation, or leadership and lead in environmental or lead or similar environmental and energy certifications. And with that, I will turn it back over to the mayor and council for any questions.
Is there any questions for Richard from the council? So just so I'm clear, Richard, so these are special districts where it would be like a special commercial district, for example, that could be created basically as part of our land use plan. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, sir. So for this, essentially, it'd be a rezoning project, but they're able to go in and kind of craft the zoning and land use laws to meet the development. All that would have to come through you all, and you would get a say in what those regulations look like. But it's a way to be flexible in the code to allow larger developments to have some ease of those regulations if needed.
Okay.
So so it's a correct statement, Richard, so instead of someone having to come before the planning commission, maybe they have a concept that, like, as you mentioned, has the town green, has whatever aspects they can come and ask for this zoning type, and it could incorporate a lot of different things, residential, commercial,
Yes.
et cetera, right?
Yeah, they can craft it to different varieties how you want, as long as they meet these requirements, then they would be working with you all and citizens to draft the rest of those regulations to make sure it's what the city would want. As opposed to coming through and asking for 25 different variances at a time.
Yeah,
One big project.
Right, got it.
makes it a lot easier.
But the question though, I'm just thinking, there's a lot of vacant land in the city, and you could go find 10 vacant acres. Should somebody say, it would be presented to us, and we would say, well, golly gee, that is completely a wrong idea to put that kind of intensity way out in the woods, you're gonna ruin people's lives.
So,
It's deniable at that point, right?
yes, sir. But
Because it's available to them, doesn't mean we have to go along with it.
these are, yes, that is correct. These are very unique situations as to why, but this is another tool that we can have in the tool deck that's available. Because we have, land here that has such natural features, as far as like lakes or things, we don't have, OSC anymore, right? So the conservation stuff is not in our zoning code anymore. So this is something that we can work with property owners, to preserve trees, different things of that nature. Or if we have those unique, you know, high dense areas or things that we wanna do that mayor and council would wanna discuss with the property owner, then this allows us for us to craft that.
Yeah, and it would still have to go based on your comprehensive plan as well. So if your future land use plan says no industrial, and they want a big industrial PUD, you would have the means to recommend denial.
Any other questions from the council for Richard?
I have last question, sorry. In terms of architectural standards, still have to comply with all requisite standards, or is that something they could request variance on? or-
So you can always request a
Sure.
variance,
Yeah.
right? But this is still something that would still fall within our regulations.
Right,
This is more aligning with what a developer may want,
sure,
for a variety of reasons, but
Got
this is
it.
something they could bring up.
got it. That's helpful, thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, hearing none, at this time, I will make the motion to adopt ordinance, or I'm sorry, there's a public hearing component for this one, right, city attorney?
Sure.
Yes, okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we have another public hearing component, so again, 10 minutes per side. Would anyone like to speak in favor of ordinance 2025-07150? Hearing none, I will close the public comment, for those in favor, would anyone like to speak in opposition of ordinance 2025-07150? Hearing none, I will go ahead and close the public comment. At this time, I will make a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-07150. Do I have a second?
Second,
Thank you, Councilman Ingram. Any discussion, any more discussion about this ordinance? Hearing none, I will call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 5, ordinance 2025-07150 is hereby adopted. All right, that brings us to item D, ordinance 2025-07151. A second reading of the ordinance, City of Mulberry, Georgia, for general amendments to the UDO, Unified Development Ordinance. Richard's getting his steps in today.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So on this one, there's 3 different exhibits in your packet. I know Exhibit C is 118 pages, and we changed 1 sentence. So sorry to make you hunt for that 1 sentence in there. So on this, Exhibit A is amendments related to access easements, and some of those regulations that we're looking in there is lot access requirements. No buildable lot may be created without access to a public or approved private street or vehicular access easement that complies with the UDO. Easement conditions here, vehicular access easements are permitted only under certain conditions, including serving single-family residences on biddable lots, use of shared driveways or alleyways, and pre-existing or approved easements under city regulations. Design standards, access easements must meet specific design requirements, including minimum widths, fire access compliance, and recorded documentation via plat, deed, or agreement. Shared maintenance obligation, property owners must share the responsibility for maintaining access easements with formal recorded agreements outlining maintenance roles, funding, and dispute resolutions. And private street maintenance, if the easement serves as a private street or alley for multiple units, maintenance must be handled by a legal entity like an HOA or a POA, with the city possibly requiring proof of such agreement. And in B, the major change we're doing there is any utility Construction plans with the city of right-of-way which require street cuts or boring shall be reviewed and approved by Gwinnett County Department of Transportation. And lastly, the one sentence in the long document was, the city of Mulberry adopts by reference any variance approved by the Board of Commissioners or GCDWR director or their designee. And with that, I will turn it back over to the mayor and council for any questions.
Any questions for Richard on this ordinance? Hearing none, we also have a public hearing component for this one, so ladies and gentlemen, same thing, 10 minutes per side. Would anyone like to speak in favor of ordinance 2025-07151? Come on up, Mr. Schwartz.
Miles Schwartz, 508 Stephen Roots Way. Hello again. I just came across the street width problem. I'm trying to search for a home for somebody. And the new phase here is making the streets 14 feet wide. So you can't park, and if a large truck is on the street, you can't get past them. That's all over Gwinnett now in all the new homes. I think we need to go back to a standard width. I can't imagine a fire truck going down the street I was on. They would have to push the cars out of the way to get to the house. That, I don't know how that is, it's gotta be a safety feature for homeowners. Anyway, that's just a comment that I saw recently while trying to help somebody buy a home. The subdivisions are not safe. People are, they can only park one car in the driveway, the other's in the street. So you can't get past them, and like I said, we ran into a truck and I had to back up all the way around the block to get out of there. Anyway, that's my comment.
All right, thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Would anyone else like to speak in favor of ordinance 2025-07151? All right, then I will close the public hearing for those in favor. Would anyone like to speak in opposition of ordinance 2025-07151? Hearing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. At this time, I will make a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-07151. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Sullivan. Any other discussion about this ordinance? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right. By a vote of 5, ordinance 2025-07151 is hereby adopted. All right. That brings us to our first presentation of the evening under item P. We have an operations presentation. Who's delivering that?
Kelly's gonna give an update on where we're going with some more operational stuff.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Cash.
Of course. All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to give you guys a rundown of some of the operational changes we've made and some of the things we're doing to get the city set up. First and foremost, I have been working on the employee handbook since we now have staff, and we're bringing on more staff and growing. And so with that, I have been working with Attorney Riley as well as GMA and GERMA to have them review our employee handbook. We're going to take it a bite at a time. Now that we have our benefits and things that I'm going to present to you guys, we have something to put in there of what our standard is going to be and what things we're going to offer to employees. So I can start working on biting off bit by bit what we expect of our staff, what you guys can expect, and what we're going to offer. So once that goes out to be reviewed by GMA, they're going to look over it for legal reasons and for comparison to other municipalities, and then we'll bring it before you guys to adopt in pieces so that you'll know everything that's in there.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Cash about the presentation?
Well, that's a third of it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
First, I'm making fun of you over here. Now,
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm sorry.
I mean,
I was trying to rush.
Everybody gets roused on their birthday, right?
All right.
So the next piece I have is insurance. I've been working with GMA to implement, yes.
Today's your birthday?
Yes.
Oh,
Today is.
wow. Happy birthday.
I'm glad to spend it with you guys. That sounded believable, right? No, it's cool. So I'm working with GMA to implement our health benefit insurance options. These insurance options are going to be offered to W-2 30-plus hour staff that are considered full-time. GMA is familiar with the insurance options that are offered by nearby municipalities, so we've reviewed how we kind of stand amongst our peers. All the surrounding cities offer a 4-tier insurance option. What I'm recommending to you guys is we actually adopt a 2-tier banded option to save the city quite a bit of money, and to allow us to offer the best benefit that we can to help us with retention and recruitment, to bring and entice individuals to work for the city of Mulberry. The highest possible obligation for full-time employees is what's gonna be reflected in the budget that will be presented to you guys at the next council meeting. And so we are able to provide a premium product to our employees for, like I said, the ability to recruit and retain our staff, for a little under $30,000 less than what a similar benefit would be to, or the four-tier banded system would be to the cost of the city. So I've been working on that, of offering those options. What we plan to offer is 3 plans, 3 POS systems, an 8060 with a $3,000 deductible, a POS 9070 with a $1,000 deductible, and a POS 9070 with a $500 deductible. The other insurance benefits that is recommended by GMA is coverage for dental, vision, life insurance, and accidental death and dismemberment. So all the all the fun stuff. And like I said, all of these, the highest possible obligation to each individual employee will be reflected in the budget that will be presented to you guys. So, questions about that?
Any questions?
Insurance is a fun thing to talk about.
This is the cost structure for the employee on the last page?
Which page are you looking at? I'm not sure.
The matrix.
Yeah, that's the whole premium.
For the,
That's the whole premium.
for the year?
No, so
No,
that's per
that's-
month.
Okay. That's the whole premium per employee per month? Per month.
Yes, sir.
And what will the employee be responsible for?
Well, what we're recommending to you guys is that the city of Mulberry, with the first year, because these are 1-year terms, so we're only bound to this for 1 calendar year, would be to cover 100% of that premium cost for full-time 30-plus hour employees, as well as dental, vision, and then the standard life insurance and accidental death and dismemberment policies.
So what positions are open? That's better benefits than I get.
Typically, municipalities do offer premium coverage for their staffs. This would put us in line with other municipalities in the Gwinnett area. GMA was laughing because we are in a very competitive market. We compared to other cities like Beaufort, Peachtree Corners, and Lawrenceville were the other cities that they were looking at, basically what those coverages look like and what our cost to our employees would be.
The city management team consists of myself, Kelly, and city attorney, and our assistant city attorney, and we've kind of reviewed this and gone over this extensively.
Yeah.
This is right now for the 6 employees that we plan on hiring over the next year. This is the best recruitment tool that we have. This, like Kelly said, is something we could adjust after the first year, but to get everybody kind of in the door, because they're maybe the county seat or so, that has extremely great benefits. And so as a recruitment tool, this was recommended also by GMA for us, because neighboring cities do substantially well with recruiting because of their benefits.
Well, I think too, is it an accurate statement to say, like, new city's probably much like a new startup in the sense that, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of long hours that are required. I know you guys are working, you're here on your birthday. But at the same time, we have, I think, all the citizens and the council and the staff, we have a vision for Mulberry, and we want to have very capable people participate in that mission. So this is a tool to help us make sure we get the best qualified.
This is an incentive that I can offer for the first year that we can adjust.
Sure.
And fiscally, if we're covering the benefit, we can offer that 2-tier banded system, which saves the city quite a bit of money versus on those premiums versus offering, if we're going to ask the employees to cover a portion of it, that 4 banded tier system is something that we have to look at because it allows for them to save money should they choose a different option, or to just cover themselves, or to just cover one person. And so this does allow us to be fiscally careful with resources while still offering the greatest benefit.
And I think it's also important to note, based on some of the budget review, that you are presenting the highest. Your assumption is that every person that is hired has themselves a spouse and kids.
Yes, sir.
In the
Highest
year,
possible
which is not
obligation.
the case, right?
Yes.
Which we would assume may not be the case.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
And no consideration of hiring will be made based on that, of course.
Right. Yeah.
What network or what insurance company is it through?
It's through the GMA, so we would be partnered with all the municipalities that go through GMA to offer Anthem service.
Anthem,
Yes, sir. Any questions about insurance?
Any other questions about insurance for Ms. Cash? Ms. Cash, are you wanting us to go ahead and call a vote on this proposal under action
This
item
goes
A?
into action item A, and we do need approval, because in order for us to kind of move forward, and there's some tier things here, right? As long as we are under 2 employees, which as of today is not the case, we have to offer benefits. We need to notify GMA by tomorrow morning in order for those to start by November 1st. As of next week, we will have 4, and then once we get over 10, we are in a completely different category where this will not be sustainable as an option for us, which is why we say this is our great recruitment tool to get us to the 6 that we plan for the next year, and then options will change after, once we move to the following fiscal year, because we project to be at that 10 employee range.
Before we move on from the operations discussion, do you mind if we formally introduce Chief Jones?
No, not at all.
Chief Jones, why don't you come up here, and we'll go ahead and formally introduce. So this is Chief Robert Jones. He's going to be heading up our code enforcement department as the Chief Marshal for the City of Mulberry. We are very honored to have him. He is a retired chief from the City of Woodstock, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And former military, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, and a very well-respected person, and I am super excited for him to be joining us and joining our team, and you'll probably start to see him driving throughout the city and kind of helping us out. So I just want to personally thank you for coming and thank you for being
Well,
here.
thank you all for the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, all right,
Well, we're
let's,
down. Been to the FBI Academy and everything.
yeah, we're very lucky.
At least you don't look like a cop.
I was really gonna try to work on that, Eric.
Come on, your company.
All right, so like I said, we're very lucky to have Chief Jones here to help us out, get the City of Mulberry Marshal Department service. So when you start to see the City of Mulberry Marshal cars driving around, I think it'll be a neat thing where we can, his dedication to keeping our city a great place to live. So, all right, we're gonna kind of segue into action item QA, which is consideration of the GERMA insurance proposal. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept the GERMA insurance proposal as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from the Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Ingram. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? By a vote of 5, the Georgia Municipal Association Employee Benefits System Program proposal is hereby adopted. That brings us to action item QB, consideration of participation for HR conference proposal.
All right, council, this is the full proposal and conference agenda is in your council packets. This is the Partnership for Public Service HR Conference. They extended the participation this year to include local municipalities, to which I am thrilled. The conference focuses on fundamental principles and practices in human capital management within government specifically, strategies, and workforce optimization and employee engagement, best practices for leveraging technology and data in the field of human resources. The session topics include implementation for people management for data programs, benefit strategies, implementing AI in human capital, and the benefits to you guys would be an increase in people management knowledge specific to government regulations. And I say that because there's a lot of human resource conferences. Unfortunately, when you're in there, they typically say, oh, there's an asterisk if you work for the government. So this is specific. It has networking opportunities and expansive information specific to government regulations within human capital.
And just so we're clear, who's planning on attending this conference?
That would be myself.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Any questions?
Yeah, I would also like to point out that our city attorney is also sending our assistant city attorney
Okay.
for this knowledge as well.
But not on the city's dime.
Not on the city staff, yes, of course.
We'll take care of our employees and take care of his employees.
Yes.
I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, of course. But just that the conference itself was needed and necessary for increasing knowledge.
Nothing closer to Atlanta in the time frame that suits our needs.
Unfortunately, the public service, Partnership for Public Service is an institution that's headquartered in DC, and they hold a conference there every year because they're able to bring in everybody from across the country. They're coming from every state, and as well as those federal officials.
Any other questions for Ms. Cash about the proposal for her to attend the conference?
I Oh, there it is on the bottom, okay, never mind.
All right, then at this time, I, on her birthday, will make the motion
Happy birthday.
to send Kelly Cash
I was like, that's not good that way.
to the Partnership for Public Service Government HR Conference as, and adopt the proposal as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 5, the proposal for Kelly Cash to attend the conference is hereby adopted. All right, that brings us to action item C, consideration of an updated meeting schedule. You wanna talk about this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good evening. So, we are updating the schedule for the meetings for mayor and council to add a second meeting per month. This is for a number of reasons. One being it helps with, now that we are rezonings, to kind of get a decision, since our charter and everything reads that we have to have 2 ordinance reads in order to have an adoption. We want to be able to shorten the time frame that people will have decisions on their property, so we want to allow for that second meeting. On those times when we would not have a public meeting for rezoning or anything of that nature, we would have a work session. That way we can outline when some of these requests for ordinance changes or research that you all would like for us to do, we can kind of have them before you all and schedule when, you know, staff will have them ready to present to you. That way we can really get our research, any third party that we may need to present some additional information and a presentation together, instead of us being able to kind of come up here with, you know, some ideas. We can really dive into discussion from a staff standpoint on direction for certain ordinances.
Any questions for the city manager regarding the updated city council meeting schedule?
I'm unclear, did we add different ones from the last time we did our schedule?
We did. So the first one is going to be the September 25th meeting. The next one would be the October 2nd meeting, if I'm not mistaken, and then the ones in December. We did adjust it to where beforehand our meetings were on the 2nd and 4th Thursday of every month. These will, or 2nd or 4th, these will be on the 1st or 3rd. And so that gives a little bit more time frame when we look at, you know, overall schedules and how staff is working with our ZBA, Zoning Board of Appeals, and our Planning Commission.
Any other questions for the city manager about the updated city council meeting schedule?
I think I have one real quick one, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a correct statement, but this, more frequent meetings helps us to speed up the cadence in which we can do some things that are important for the city, right?
It does, and to kind of give you an idea, the public hearing that you'll hear tonight, right, this is on a time frame that where you had, you know, part of this was last month, and then you would have it, you know, the second read today. This will allow for any type of situation like that to be heard within that 1 month period. So we're trying to make sure that the schedule is proper to where, you know, we still have the ability for anyone to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals, Planning Commission, but then be able to get your decision within a quicker time frame.
Yeah, makes sense.
Any other questions? All right, then, if there's no other questions at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adopt the updating Mulberry 2025 City Council meeting schedule as presented.
All right, we have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? And just for the record, the updated meeting dates will be September 25th, October 2nd, October 16th, November 6th, November 20th, December 4th, and December 18th, but I believe these will be published on the website,
These will be
correct?
published on the website, these will be sent back out to the paper as well. They will be in the, just add this now too, in the move that we're doing after October 1, there is a meeting minute box that would be placed on the outside near the monument sign at our new location, so anyone can kind of see it without having to go in the cul-de-sac. And then they will also have it on our main door once you go to the bottom floor in our new building.
Perfect.
So there's a lot of other places that will have this, but till then, the new meeting schedule will be posted on the door here as well.
All right, we have a motion and a second, so at this time I will call a vote. All in favor of adopting this updated meeting schedule? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 5, the Mulberry 2025 City Council meeting schedule is hereby adopted. That brings us to action item D, consideration of Jess FOIA contract amendment. Do you want to talk about this? You want me to talk about it? You got it? Okay.
This is just a quick amendment. So we had, you all had approved for us to move forward with just FOIA, which is, our open record system that can kind of help staff and our city clerk on how we handle open records requests and the signing open records requests. In the meeting with just FOIA, there was a little bit of things that we had discussed with them and that our city clerk had presented to you all that was not included in the original contract that was put before you all. And so just for full transparency, we wanted to have the amended contract not just signed by the mayor, even though there was an approval. We wanted to get it before you all to be signed.
Any questions about this amendment to the Jess FOIA contract?
Just a point of clarity, maybe, this is Freedom of Information.
This is for the, this is for the Freedom of Information Act. This system is a software that allows for, right now, just to explain our system, if someone were to do an open records request, then it goes to our city clerk directly, or it goes through our website, that goes to our city clerk, right? For a little bit more organizational purposes, there's a software that's out there, and just FOIA is one of the best, that can keep track of those. Our system is great because our city clerk has put it in place, but we just want to make sure that we have something that's backed up on someone else's server, a cloud-based system, in case something were to happen to ours, just for making sure we keep a full record.
Any other questions? All right, then at this time, I will make a motion to adopt the Master Services Agreement 55029, the Just FOIA contract between the City of Mulberry and that corporation, and allow the mayor to execute the same. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Sullivan. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 5, the Just FOIA agreement is hereby adopted. That brings us to the amended item E, discussion regarding building placement. I'll turn that over to Councilman Sullivan, since that was your amendment.
Yes, okay. Excuse me. We'll hear a CIC here in a few minutes, and that's what kind of brought it to my mind. Beaufort, not Sullivan, Beaufort, I get them and Gwinnett County confused, they're so alike. Gwinnett County approved their zoning several years ago. The building that they're gonna build and they wanna have the doctors in and such is gonna have the rear of the building facing Hamilton Mill, just off the right of way. The front of the building will face internally, all the parking's internally. And I get that coming from Gwinnett County, they wanna get away from like the Walmart where you've got massive parking and that's what you see first. Or you think scenic highway, parking lot after parking lot. So they're encouraging this sort of thing. I personally prefer a little setback and the front of the building to face the road. I think it's a much better look. Now, yes, you can do all kinds of things to the back of the building, but it's still the back of the building. It's where the employee's gonna go take their breaks, smoke their cigarettes, hang out. If you don't believe me, go check the Waffle House near the Kroger. They've got a little nasty place out their back door. I don't think we wanna see that. I think we wanna upscale what's here. We walked through Alpharetta, we walked through Johns Creek, we saw what we could make. I think this hurts it. If you'll also go over to, the Mall of Georgia Boulevard, they built all those apartments, and there's a commercial component. None of that faces the street, it's all back walls, doors, very bland and industrial if you wanna think, maybe even, I don't know, institutional. I don't think it's a good look for us, I don't think it's a good look going forward. Obviously, what they got that by right, and they say they're too far along to move it, so we're stuck with it. But going forward, I would like to not see that happen again. I also understand that our planning people suggested it and said it was a good idea, that they were supportive of it. I don't want us to be supportive of that going forward. That's just my opinion. I would like staff to look at this better. There's gotta be a compromise. I like this, shallow parking in front of a building, a nice looking building. You think the Chili's, think the bank that's next to the Chili's. And then you can still have plenty of parking in the rear. Up here in Brazelton Highway, think Five Guys Burgers. There's a little parking in front, it's set back, you see the front of the buildings, and then they have massive parking in the back. So you don't have a sea of parking, which I don't like either. So I like us to take a look at crafting some ordinances or guidelines, rules, whatever, in the ordinances to set some standards that we just won't have massive backs of buildings facing our main thoroughfares. I mean, there's a lot of commercial between where they built a beautiful, the building that's there is beautiful now. I like the looks of it, it's gonna be hidden, by the new building, but there's several commercial properties between there and the Chili's, and I'd hate to see all of those develop the same way, with backs of buildings facing Hamilton Mill, and, you know, encasing the thing, so, that's my thoughts on that.
Any other discussion about action item QE?
No, I mean, I kind of agree with Councilman Sullivan that, you know, the preference would be to see the fronts of businesses. Maybe not set back like Walmart, but if there's the option to see the front of the building, not the back to back. I don't know how you craft that in an ordinance, or I don't know how you make that a preference. But I think it is a better look, and, you know, he makes a reference to the property at, I think it's the corner of Woodward Crossing and
Yeah, Paula, Georgia.
Georgia. And I have driven by that property before, and I remember saying to myself, that's odd that you just drive by the backs of the buildings and you can't see what's in the middle where all the fun is. So that's just, you know, one person's opinion. And I think, you know, looking at the front of the businesses looks a little bit better to me.
Any other discussion?
I just make one additional comment, observation to your point when we went to Milton. What we did see over there is we saw, scenarios where when you did have buildings that were orientated in the way that you're saying you don't like, there was generally foliage, tree cover, stuff like that, right? There was a abundance of shrubs and lots of trees, so you didn't really notice it. It wasn't as apparent maybe, so that's just maybe something for us to think through.
What we will do is, we will take a look at this for things going forward. And then find something that we can come to you all in a work session on that kind of talks about what street facade looks like, especially on double fronted streets, where there may be a major thoroughfare where it may be the back of the street, it'd be back of the building, or if there are two streets to it, what that double frontage looks like, and then present something to you all.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to do that, that's great. Do we need to make a motion for that, or is it just?
You don't, it's
Okay.
just something that, you know, you're kind of, it's under action items, right, but we can use that as staff directive, or we can go ahead and kind of make a note and then try to get some research done.
Yeah, okay. Second point, signage,
Hold on, wait, real quick.
Okay.
Any other discussion about action item E, regarding the building placements? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to action item, QF regarding signage.
yes, okay, signage. We have, my group as independent citizens years ago helped craft the Hamilton Mill 124 overlay district. We set standards for signs, they have to be monument signs, and again, the new storage place has a very nice one, it meets code, it looks good, they should all look that good. If you go down from there to the Little Caesars, you'll see there's a very cheap metal box with transparent signs, no similarity in color, presentation, font, or anything else. You come over to this side of town, and most of the monument signs are set up that way. The colors are either identical, the fonts are very similar. The Kennerly building is the same way. My side gets the crap. And I wanna upgrade that so that we don't get more of those cheap metal boxes. I'd like to see some requirements where there's brick stacked stone part of that monument where it looks like what we want the city to become. Upscale and not chintzy and cheap.
Can I ask this question? Would you like for us to look at signage as a whole across the entire city and have a uniform standard? Or look at something per like where the overlay is, or just give some variations to it?
I would say citywide, yes, but my initial concern is because we are starting to get people coming in for zoning and we are seeing some building, some activity. I don't want to take too long and have some stuff slip by because we didn't do it in a timely fashion. Yeah, the city needs that as well. The overlay currently covers Hamilton Mill Road and all of 124 in the city limits.
So would you like a variation citywide for signs, or one uniform across the city?
I think if you can do it by development, you know, it's like maybe the Kennerly building has a certain font, if you come over here to where the Bank of America's at, if you go entrance into like where Wild Wing Cafe's at, they have a slightly different font, but it's consistent. It's the consistency I'm looking for. The one at the Chili's, it's a mishmash, and it looks like something on Jimmy Carter Boulevard.
So let me take this back to staff. There's a way I think I can get this to your liking. Citywide, but variation, depending, right? And so we'll get something in front of the work session.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at some of the ones that exist on Hamilton Mill that meet those requirements. I guess the only exception being a Taco Bell. I don't know how the heck they got it so tall. It's supposed to be 6 foot tall limit. But yeah, there's several there that are done per that code. And of course, you've got the doctor's office down from the new development, and it's just a wooden sign on 4x4 posts. And that doesn't meet code at all. I actually turned it in, nothing's been done yet. And then again, too, seeing as how we're talking about it, getting off the highway tonight from work, turning right to come here, there's a brand new giant Beezer sign. I suspect that's a gypsy sign. I don't know that they paid any fees to us for that. And there's another home builder sign right next to it too. I think we need to take care of that. If we're gonna allow that on a temporary basis, well, there needs to be a fee associated and a permit associated.
We will take a look at that.
Yeah, I've worked for several new home builders and they just usually say, oh, I'm sorry, here's your fee. They don't come and ask for permission.
Any other discussion about sign standards? All right, hearing none, I will go ahead and close that action item. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to action item R, which is our public hearing cases for this evening. Now, let me explain this a little bit. So what we're going to hear from, we have an application for a change in conditions. You're going to hear from potentially 3 different people. The first one is going to be staff is going to present the application. Then the applicant themselves has a right, and for those in favor of the condition or the application, they would have 10 minutes just like normal. And then for those that are opposed to that change in condition, you would be limited to 10 minutes. So if you're here to speak in favor or oppose, this would be a good time to kind of work with other people, because again, everybody has to split that 10 minutes. So kind of pick your best 2 to 3 speakers to stand up. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and read the agenda item. So this is consideration of case number CIC 2025.07.1257, the second read of an application of Gabriel Schaller, an owner, L. Murphy LLC, care of Mahaffey Pickens Tucker LLP, for a change in conditions to amend the permitted uses. The property is located at 2797 Hamilton Mill Road, Beaufort, Georgia, 30519, being Gwinnett County tax parcel 1001988 in zone C2 general business district conditional. This in the future, I'd like to have it always say this would be District 1 Councilman Sullivan. So if we could always list that on the agendas. I mean, I'll tell that to whatever moving forward, but this would be in District 1.
For the note, we're gonna work on all that.
Perfect.
That needs to be in the presentation more so than you reading it.
Okay, perfect. Sounds
One
good.
other point of clarification, if we could also put Mulberry instead of Beaufort.
So, okay, so I will turn it over to staff for the initial presentation.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. So here's a map of where the exact location is for this. And the mayor covered most of the information here, so I'll just go into the proposed change in condition is to modify condition 2 of previous rezoning, RZC 2022-04, and special use permit SUP 2022-05, to allow medical and dental offices as a permitted use. It is zone C2, conditional based on those 2 zoning cases. And I believe it is District 1.
Yep.
Sullivan, not District 3 there, sorry about that. All right, and the Sergeant Park property is currently undeveloped, and adjacent property uses include office complex with medical offices, retail, restaurant, and undeveloped tract as well. And condition 2 with the proposed amendment would say that property shall be limited to retail and service commercial. The definition of service commercial understood to include dentist or medical office, and accessory uses in the self-storage facility as a special use. Use of convenience store with or without fuel pumps shall be prohibited, and restaurants with drive-thrus shall also be prohibited. And also on this one, it is supported by the comprehensive plan and the future development map for medical offices and campuses, as they are listed as compatible uses in the workplace center light, future land use designation. On this one, staff is recommending approval of the proposed change in condition to permit the use of dental and medical uses on the subject property with the following conditions. One, all previous conditions of zoning approved by Gwinnett County on February 22nd, 2022 shall remain in effect. Two, permitted dental and office uses shall be limited to outpatient office-based practices. Condition three, the following uses shall be prohibited: emergency medical centers, urgent care clinics, surgical centers, dialysis centers, inpatient or overnight care facility, mental health or substance abuse treatment centers, and medical laboratories with on-site diagnostic equipment generating hazardous waste. And then the Planning Commission recommendation was similar. Conditions 1 and 2 are exactly the same. However, Planning Commission is recommending to allow emergency medical centers and urgent care with the condition 4 saying that the limitation on hours, they must be closed by 9 p.m. And with that, I will turn it back over to the mayor and council for any questions of staff.
Any questions for staff on this application?
No.
All right, hearing none, then we will move to the second part of our presentation, or the second part, which will be those that would like to speak in favor of the application, including the applicant. Is the applicant here? All right, thank you. This time we'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gabrielle Shaler, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. My address is 1550 North Brown Road, Suite 125 in Lawrenceville. The applicant team is pleased with planning staff and planning commission's recommendations of approval, and we are amenable to planning commission's recommended conditions. The applicant's request tonight is all about amending just one condition of the current entitlements to just make explicitly clear that a dentist office or a medical office is allowed by right on the property, as we know the property is currently entitled for commercial uses. And so the property owner has been, I'm just gonna give a little bit of background. The property owner has been working on this for about 5 years. He got to the end of the zoning and permitting phase in Gwinnett when the great city of Mulberry incorporated. And all the city staff asked the applicant to do was just push the building up further, which we talked about, toward Hamilton Mill Road, which is reflected in the site plan, and to submit this change in conditions plan you have in front of you tonight. It's just clarification, just wording, just language. So the applicant, this is just a little antidote for everyone. The applicant has the first building permit from the city, the first certificate of occupancy, the first land disturbance permit, and with this application, the first change in conditions application to go through. So in sum, the applicant has been a part of lots of firsts for Mulberry and wants to continue being a productive citizen that contributes to the growth and development in the city. So I'll just briefly touch on what staff already said to everyone, which is that this medical office or dental office is going to be compatible with the surrounding uses and is in alignment with the comprehensive plan. So medical and commercial uses along Hamilton Mill Road. There's one right next door. The subject property, as we know, already has a self-storage beautifully operating in the rear. And the comprehensive plan, we're compatible with that. Workplace center specifically includes medical offices and its list of primary uses. And the proposed development will provide a professional and clean use for neighbors to enjoy, and will also provide office-based jobs for the local residents. So this type of commercial development is something that will be positive for the city of Mulberry. In its economic development policy goals and strategies section of the comprehensive plan, explicit economic development goals to encourage development of medical office as an alternative to retail or warehouse-driven economic growth. And that's just important because, you know, this is already a commercial use. We could be doing other things, but we think just based on the comprehensive plan and conversations with neighbors that this is the best use in this case. So medical and dental offices are not something the city wants to restrict because they're professional, residential focused, and neighborhood service oriented. The applicant has dentists who are actually here tonight, ready, willing, and able to move into this building.
and provide their services to this community. The only thing left to do here is to approve this minor change to one of the conditions on this property that is arguably already entitled to use this property, right, because there's service commercial listed in the approved uses. So dump stops are quiet, they're low impact uses, and they benefit the community, they don't generate a lot of traffic. The storage in the back only does like 6 cars per day. And dentist offices don't generate a lot of noise or crime. And this will be a high dollar business that'll be positively impacting the community. The applicant is already successfully operating self-storage, like I discussed already. So as such, the applicant respectfully requests that you approve this case tonight so we can finally put his property to use and contribute to the growth and tax base of your new city. And I will reserve the remainder of my time to answer questions and for rebuttal.
All right, does anyone have any questions for the applicant?
I have a quick question. I know that one of the use cases is urgent care, I think, right? And emergency care. I'm just curious, maybe for the either applicant or staff, do we feel like the access to the property for paramedics, things of that nature that might be required, is it appropriate? Is it fair? Is it easy to get in and out of?
Yeah, so the road widths, the parking lot, the turn radius, and everything else all meets the standards that are outlined by all public safety. So we don't see an issue with any of that. And all that is evaluated through our concept review and plan review process with applicants and their pre-application.
Any other questions for the applicant?
No, one for staff, just curious why you dropped planning commission's recommendation number 4.
Yeah, so on that, I was not there for that meeting, but my understanding of this is that the urgent care and the emergency services are slightly more intensive in the fact that you never know what the clientele is gonna be. They could have nobody one day and then they could be completely slammed the next day. So it's a little bit more unpredictable of a traffic pattern for those types of uses. And try to stick with the intent of what was approved in 2020 under Gwinnett. Do not want to speak for them, but there must have been some intent and some reason why they did put that in there.
Yeah, okay, I don't know, I was a little concerned too. Emergency medical sounds like a different form of a emergency, but not at a hospital. We don't have any hospitals close, I think that would be a horrible thing to stop before going straight to the emergency room of the hospital, but urgent care to me, that's just dock in a box. I have a flu, I gotta go get some antibiotics, and it's not much different than a doctor's office. So, in that sense, curious, I guess, is that seen as much more intensive use or no?
It would be slightly more intensive, but right now we leave it up to you, whether you think that's more than enough to not require it. So we provided our analysis and we'll let you all do what's best for the city here.
Part of staff's
Yeah.
thinking at the first time was, again, this is just a condition amendment, so we were upholding as many conditions as there were beforehand. The planning commission wanted to go towards adding this as allowable use. And so with their recommendation, we wanted to move forward to give the applicant the flexibility of whatever they need if mayor and council so see.
Okay.
I have a quick question. Since this is just a change of conditions, will the design and build of the property have to come back before anybody?
No.
Okay, so this, what we're seeing here is the intended design of the entirety of the property.
Yes.
Gotcha, okay. And I'm certainly no professional designer or architect. And this is very small. I can take a picture of it and zoom in on it with my new full, so I don't have to wear glasses. And again, forgive my naivety for not, if I'm reading this improperly, but, is the building 10 feet from the road? Is that accurate?
It's like,
The building is 13.4 feet from the road.
Okay.
So the 10 feet, the 10-10 with
That
the
10
dash
that-
line?
That is the landscape strip that's required by the Hamilton Mill
Okay, so the
Parkway.
soundscape. Is there there's no current sidewalk, and are we asking for a sidewalk?
There is
They'll have to
there is
put
a
in-
current sidewalk that exists.
There is, okay.
Yes, sir.
They'll have to add a bench and a trash.
Okay,
can.
13 feet 4, I see what you're talking about there. And the 10 feet, what did you say that was?
The 10 feet is required landscape strip, and so that's inside the overlay is a requirement for them to have, and so that's what that 10 feet is acknowledging. And if you look kind of in the gray, you can see where it says concrete, that's the concrete sidewalk and everything that's already
Gotcha.
outlined there.
Okay.
So you'll see the road, sidewalk, landscape strip that, you know, requires some kind of buffering that we were discussing, and then the building itself.
I have a large copy if you want one. You don't need it. I feel like you answered your questions. Okay, good.
Good question. All right, any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, one quick question for the applicant. On exhibit, I see in the package of materials we received, there's a reference to a building elevation that was given to Gwinnett County. Did staff see that building elevation?
So we have updated elevations that we submitted to staff, if you'd
Okay.
like to see them, do I have, is there a particular?
Yeah, I
So-
would like to see the elevation.
Yeah, and it, you know, I didn't want it to go too much into, you know, the, what the building's gonna look like, just because,
Sure, I
like we
understand.
discussed,
Yeah.
but,
I was just curious, cause it made reference, as reviewed and approved by us, I was just curious what, and it sounds like it's changed since then.
yes.
And it's a mix of brick and stack stone, is
It's
that
not
right?
changed, it's
Okay.
just these elevations are better and
Okay,
better,
gotcha.
so the first part of this is a floor plan, so you probably don't wanna look at that. But, so this is gonna be where you're gonna have,
Oh, cool.
the parking area, and so, and this is the front, and so one thing that's really good about this is identical to
To
the front of
back.
the building. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
that's super helpful, I suspect councilman
exactly-
Sullivan may wanna see that too, that's awesome.
oh, I have
Okay.
copies, so
Oh, you do?
I'll
Okay.
give them to
Yeah,
everybody,
that's-
but I just wanted to point out
Yeah, no,
that
thank you,
this
so it's identical
illustrates that
both
it's
front and
identical.
back, okay, that's really
Yes.
helpful.
And the only difference is we're hiding the parking, which is great, so we're not
Got it.
seeing a larger surface parking area.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's nice, that's very, very, very interesting looking.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, what caused y'all to change from the facades from the elevations you showed Gwinnett County?
So they're not different, these are just more detailed and updated, and they
I know.
just are clearer.
You didn't have all these weird slanted roofs on your other one, they were flat roofs?
So those were more technical architectural elevations, these are more, of an image. It's just a different way of drawing.
Okay, well, like I said earlier, you grandfathered in, there's not much we can do anyway.
Right, and, also just a little tidbit about the urgent cares. Like I said in my presentation, we're compatible with the surrounding uses, there's an urgent care right next door. And there's also another urgent care right
Across the
down the
street.
street,
Across the
so,
street, too,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah,
it's
across the street.
compatible, and it just gives us flexibility. Like I said, the plan is for a dental office, so that's the plan, and they're here. And they're here and they're invested in this
Yes.
property.
But just a point though, for my fellow councilmen who probably aren't as versed in zoning as I am, just because the dentist is going in there, if we allow something else, it doesn't mean it won't come later. It's not gonna be a dentist office forever, doesn't have to be. I've
Right,
seen a
which
lot of
goes within
changes.
our entitlements, so.
Yeah. I understand, yes, indeed. It would be a taking of value in the suicide of the Constitution. I get it, I've heard all that before.
All right, any other questions for the applicant? We're gonna move this along. Nope? All right, thank you very much. All right,
Thank you.
at this time, is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition of the application? All right, hearing none, then I will close the public hearing for those in opposition. I know you reserved some time, is there anything else you'd like to say?
No.
Okay, perfect.
Comfortable, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, then at this time, we're gonna do things, we're gonna take a motion first, and then a second, and if there's any discussion, we'll do that. So at this time, I will entertain a motion on this application.
Yes, let me find the right page.
Oh,
Excuse me.
there is a public hearing portion of this.
You didn't give anybody to speak
For
for
it.
it.
Oh, thank you, okay, I apologize. So we've heard from the applicant, there is some time that's remaining, would anyone else here to speak in favor of this application? Hearing none, then I will close for those in favor. Do you want me to reopen for those opposed? Then I will reopen. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition of this application? Hearing none, then I will go ahead and close the
I have
public.
some question. They have a new facility in elder people, they're living in the new area. There are a lot of them, many people, they will be vulnerable person, and they're using the wheelchair around the front of the shopping center. If they need the future, maybe sidewalk that it need them. And they're 13 feet, they're not enough. and maybe more than 15 people need the space. I think that's what I'm thinking too. So also around here, post office is too far away from the Highway 20, the other side on the Highway 20, the other side, Lawrenceville area, too far away. So we can
So
request
sir,
to the,
one thing, first off, can you state your name for the record? What's your name?
my name is Young Kim.
Young Kim,
Yeah,
Mr. Kim.
I'm sorry.
So this is, the public comment for this is just limited to this application, so is
Yeah.
there,
I know that, but I don't have a chance to come here to meet the here councilor, so that's why I'm
Sure,
just
no.
a short idea. I'm
no,
gonna,
that's okay, and I'll tell you what, we'll be here, we'll be around after, we'd love to talk to you.
I can't stay longer here, so
Okay.
what I have on my,
Sir, if you can get Joy your information, and I'll reach out to you tomorrow, and then I
Okay.
understand what you're talking about,
Okay.
we'll get it
Thank
taken
you.
care of. Yes,
All
sir.
right, thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in opposition to the application?
Want to speak for, you should have received a letter from the broker next door, Justin Dinnerman. It should that we acknowledge that somebody spoke.
I can hand the letter to
I would
Jamie
actually
for the
need,
record.
yeah, I would need the letter for the record as well as the elevations that you gave to mayor and council.
Yes.
And you can email those to me so that we can add them as a part of the minutes.
Okay, so you don't need a hard copy back.
All right, let me go back, let me ask the question again. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition of this application? We're gonna try to keep a little bit of order here. All right, is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? All right, sir, if you could come up to the podium, and if you could, state your name and your address, please.
My name is Jose A. 3175 Packet Lead Road, Beaufort, Georgia. I oppose about that because I'm living in that area. It's I think 2 minutes from my house. We have already agent care, 2 of them in that area. One of them is Diane Omar. We have one, I think close to Chevron, something like that. If they build that one, it's gonna be the 3rd one with that small space. Just the reason why we can do something else and agent care. It's not, I am guessing F care, no, but we have too many. We're gonna have in that area too many, and then one day we're gonna build the hospital in that area. That's why I'm opposing. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition to the application? All right, then hearing none, we will go ahead and close public comment. So at this time, I will entertain a motion from the council.
Already. I make a motion to approve CIC 2025.07.1257 based on staff recommendations. And I don't think I need to add anything else, right?
And planning commission recommendations.
Planning commission, staff recommendations. The 3 staff recommendations.
Okay, so the,
Sorry, I'm sorry, I have to interject. That's not what we requested. We requested planning commission recommendations.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna state that and remind everyone just very politely that we did submit constitutional objections.
That's okay.
forgive me, I did not allow you your rebuttal time either.
It's
so I just
okay.
feel sorry. I'm sorry, I've gotten like
There's
totally
my
thrown
rebuttal.
off tonight. Okay, so do you want to, you can take your time, you wanna state your rebuttal? I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
I mean, you
It's
can
okay.
state your constitutional,
Okay, yeah, so. Just to focus in on, the conditions. So when we submitted this application, it was just for clarification purposes. It was at the request of planning staff. This is a case where arguably we are already entitled to do this on this property. And this applicant and owner has been working on this for 5 years, and I know that is not all the fault of the state of Mulberry. But that is a very long time for someone to suffer a hardship. And so when we've been working with staff, and staff has been wonderful,
And so we did point out to them that these added conditions are further restricting the property beyond what's necessary. And so what we've agreed to is revised conditions that limit the hours of operation to 9 p.m. Staff agreed with that. Planning Commission was comfortable with that, and we would submit to you that that is appropriate in this case. And limiting the urgent care, while we understand that that is something that you guys have an abundance of, it just offers some flexibility to the property owner if need be. But again, I will state the purpose here and the intent is to allow a dentist office. The other thing I'll point out is that the applicant has been more than willing to engage with planning staff and with the city. He's also been, just over the years of working on this property, has engaged with neighbors. And one thing that he's done is he hasn't just listened, he's put these things into action. He's negotiated, heard what people want, and then put them in writing. So for example, one of the conditions in Gwinnett County, which he didn't have to agree to, but he actually offered this up after a community meeting with the neighbors, was a restriction on the use of fast food restaurants. Obviously, that's not something we want to see in the city of Mulberry, so it works out for the city of Mulberry as well. But it's just showing that the applicant wants to be here. Like I said, he's been a first and involved in the city of Mulberry, and so he just wants to operate his business. He just wants to be able to contribute to the growth and positive thriving of the city of Mulberry. And so he's going to be invested and think very carefully about leasing. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that we have a motion on the table, correct? Should we have him restate his motion? Okay, why don't you restate your motion that's on the table?
I make a motion that we accept CIC 2025.07.1257 based on staff recommendations.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second, because we're gonna have discussion after this, right?
Sure.
Yes.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the application with staff recommendations. All right, what is, if any discussion, what's the discussion?
The only difference is, and just to make sure I'm reading all my words properly, between staff and planning commission recommendations that I can see, is planning commission is recommending a 9 p.m. close by time, and then also planning commission is recommending allowing not
Emergency medical centers and urgent care clinics.
that's staff recommendation.
No,
No, that's
staff,
planning commission.
staff prohibits it, planning
Okay.
commission allows it up to 9 p.m.
Gotcha, okay. So, Councilman Sullivan, your preference is to, not allow, urgent cares and emergency medical centers, is that right?
Yeah, I'm deferring to professionals. No offense to the planning commission, but deferring to the professionals.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
Any other discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 1 to 5, the motion fails. 1 to 4, thank you. 1 to 4, the motion fails. So at this time, I will entertain another motion. I'll make the motion. I'll make a motion to approve application number, CIC 2025-07-1257 with planning commission recommendations. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Ingram. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 4 to 1, the motion carries that application CIC 2025-07-1257 is adopted by a vote of 4 to 1. All right, that moves us on to some first reads we have for some business, and so we will go ahead and proceed with that. The first one is ordinance 2025-09-152. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to just say that if you're not here for the rest of the meeting, that would be a good time to leave before we go to the next section. That way we don't disrupt in the
Sure.
middle of
Yeah.
the
Thank you.
presentation.
All right, that'll bring us to section S. We're moving right along. First read, ordinance 2025-09-152. Who is gonna do this work for me?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll make it really brief. We have in our charter a court section, this is the ordinance that follows up on the charter that we've been running off the charter. Just fleshes it out a little bit. It talks about, that we're gonna have a judge and associate judge, which we already have. Gives their term to be 1 year and they're renewable indefinitely. There's additional personnel. Talks about the clerk of the court, law enforcement, bailiff. I would suggest between the first and second read on the bailiff that we contemplate that the marshal could be the bailiff as well as the law enforcement there. It wasn't contemplated we'd had a marshal when this was first proposed. The duties of solicitor and additional support about having indigent defense, translation. Sets the court schedule at 4 p.m. on the second Tuesday of every month at the City Hall. It allows for fees as allowed by law, and that the council can set fines for violations of city ordinances. Also has the rules of the court, contempt of court. Most importantly, it has the summons process to bring people to court and summons, and it includes a criminal penalty for failing to obey your summons. That gives us the opportunity, if somebody doesn't come to court, to issue a warrant for their arrest along with, we'll file an accusation with it and have a bondable bench warrant so they can have a bond. We'll present those, since we're not on GCIC at this point in time, we would present that to our marshal or other law enforcement officer to go ahead and bring them into custody. As you already know, we have already lined up the Barrow County Sheriff for service. Talks about regular fines and fees. These are the ones that are allowed by law. Also appeals, and that is the instance of what this is. It's just the regular framework that you would have to outline the charter of how you implement your courts.
Any questions for the city attorney? All right, hearing none, no public hearing on that, correct, city attorney?
That's right, just
Okay.
a second read.
Okay, all right, next, that'll bring us to ordinance number 2025-09-153. All right, turn back over to Richard.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. So this is the first read of a text amendment, 2025-09153, and it will establish that equestrian residential and equestrian commercial zoning districts, revisions to base residential and base non-resident district dimensional standards were provided in your packet, and revisions to permitted uses for the base residential and non-residential districts, and updated permitted use for both of those districts as well, and other general amendments. Next slide, please. Thank you. Just kidding, that's all that was on that one. So the main ones in here, so the residential equestrian residence district, the purpose and intent for that's gonna be, this district is intended to preserve and establish rural and equestrian character by allowing very low density residential uses integrated with horse keeping, barns, paddocks, and other accessory equestrian activities. An equestrian commercial district, the purpose and intent there is, this district is intended to accommodate equestrian-oriented commercial uses such as boarding stables, training facilities, riding arenas, and related rural enterprises that support equestrian and agricultural traditions. The district provides opportunities for equestrian businesses in a manner that preserves open landscapes, maintains rural design character, and minimizes impact on surrounding residential and agricultural land. Next few pages, we're just adjusting numbers. And then we go into the different dimensional standards that we've established for these two districts and some slight modifications to other zoning districts as well in there. And then we got our use table, and then we struck out bed and breakfast in, under section 140.3, so that we could relocate it under, the lodging section. So that was removed to 24-140.24 under lodging establishments. And those are the exact same, regulations that were in the previous section, just copied and pasted over here. We've created the rental cottages, as standalone rental cottages that may be permitted as lodging establishments, subject to, the 5 regulations listed there in your packet. And then they're also prohibiting hotels, motels, and extended stay facilities within the EQC district. And with that, those are the highlights of the changes being made in this, and I'll turn to the mayor and council for any questions you may have for me.
Any questions about ordinance 2025-09-153?
Yeah, just a couple real quick. I know the P is permitted, what does the S and L stand for again?
So the S is gonna be a special use permit, and L is gonna be limited, which means it's got supplemental regulations within the code that they have to follow, but it would be administratively approved if they met those conditions.
Gotcha, okay, just as an aside, I have a heck of a time following all these columns. If somehow we could figure a way to put the header on every page,
Okay.
next time it would be a lot easier to read.
All right, any other questions? All right, hearing none, there is a public hearing component of this, so same as before.
No, it's the first reading. The
Okay.
public hearing will be the second one.
You sure? I mean, it's on the agenda, you don't, you've gotta wait for the second here?
No.
Okay, all right, then, there's not a public hearing, then we'll move on to ordinance 2025-09-154. All right, I'll turn that back over.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council, for the last time. This is a text amendment for the telecommunications ordinance. The 3 things that were changed in here is, we're gonna require a radio frequency engineer's report to be provided by the applicant and their engineer, not our city engineer. And then there's public hearings / notice requirements that have been amended to match those in Title II, Chapter 270, which is essentially requiring the same public hearing and notification requirements that we do for all zoning applications. And lastly, the community meeting requirement has been deleted from the ordinance. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the mayor and council if they've got any specific questions about the changes.
Any questions about the telecommunications?
Yeah, the community meeting thing, I mean, I know cell phones have gotten pretty, you can't object hardly anymore. But I know in the past, it's created quite a fervor in the public, they're all afraid to die because of radio waves. Why did we remove the public comment?
The public comment was primarily, it's not removing the public comment. So what we're talking about is the additional community meeting that the applicant holds.
Gotcha, okay, so
Whereas
outside of the zoning process.
That is correct. They still have to have the public hearing process that's listed there, and I kinda wanna make this note too, since the mayor brought it up. What we have here is still public hearing cases,
Yeah.
right? They still have to have a public hearing portion to it, whether it's a rezoning, or it's a first read, or second read. And so because that categorically, they're in the same spot, but on a first read, we're not opening up for public comment like we would for a second read. That just reduces the time frame on what would need to be heard, just like everything else. The first read is where the case is heard. The second read is where we allow for the public to comment on it before you all make your decision. And so,
And there's nothing though, if the public get outraged about a given cell tone, there's nothing that prohibits or prevents us suggesting, hey, Mr. Developer, you might wanna meet with the citizens around you.
that does not stop you all from, if they were to bring something up here, the public were to speak, you all would postpone the vote and then have them go, discuss it with the applicant as a little bit of directive. None of that stops this. What this does though is the additional stuff that's required as far as, having the applicant meet with the public privately is not necessarily in the telecommunications portion of the ordinance.
Okay.
Any other questions about this ordinance? All right, thank you very much. All right, that will conclude that section. That brings us to action item T, executive session. Is my understanding we don't need an executive session?
We don't have anything.
Okay, then I will make a motion to remove the executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, by a vote of 5, executive session is hereby removed. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this evening. It was a long night. We appreciate you sticking with us. We had a couple hiccups there through the process too, so we appreciate it. City government at its finest. Right there. So, all right, well, thank y'all for coming, and like I said, we'll see, our next meeting is September the 25th, so hopefully we'll see you there, and then at this time, I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Shields. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All right, we are hereby adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night.